You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's College Football Huddle. We'll talk a little basketball, a little baseball, if we're getting close to the College World Series. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. We're getting, college football's in the off season, if there is one. We got a few topics to talk about tonight. We'll get in a little bit of the Big Ten revenue approaching $1 billion. The Big 12 brings back Yomack for another year, 3 more years, I should say, as their, I believe it's a 5-year extension for him. Notre Dame and Clemson with a big 12-year deal announced. We'll talk about some other things, too, and we'll get into maybe looking at the quarterback situations if we have time around the power conferences. Also, some news in college basketball as Todd Golden is fresh off his national championship, has signed a big extension there, 6 years, $40 million. Shaq is back in the college game. Cooper Flagg set to be the number 1 pick here in June. We'll look at the top 25 in baseball, and we'll look at the conference tournament schedule, as well as the NCAA World Series, the regional scheduled leading up to the College World Series in Omaha. I want to welcome everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We're live on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel. And again, our thoughts and prayers are still with Linda McGrath after the loss of our leader on National Streaming Sports, Mac McGrath, good friend. He and I worked together a lot over the last 5 years. Fridays, Wednesdays, special events, Sunday mornings. And I've always had a lot of fun with Mac, and we're going to miss Mac a lot, but he will continue to be a presence on this show and a lot of other shows. And we'll see what the future brings. And Linda, if you're there, mine and my wife's continued thoughts and prayers, best wishes, sending lots of positive energy your way, Linda, at this difficult time to you and your family. The groups, we thank the groups that allow us to share. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities, Flo and the Gang at Bottom Line Sports, the great group over to Let's Talk Sports, all great. Some great content there. Just like on National Streaming Sports, Let's Talk Sports has some great content as well. DDH, thumbs up. Speaking of the late great ones, DDH, you know how we feel about you. Who else? Ken Krause at Golf Bud Sports of All Sorts. Quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Are we live on Facebook or not? RW Media, Ralph Williams in Pittsburgh does a lot of great stuff, specifically the sports corner with Smoking Jim Frazier every Tuesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Oh, that's a lot. This Friday, by the way, we'll have no shows early today. We'll have the MLB update at 3 o'clock, but we'll have no shows because I don't want to risk my 9 o'clock show going over. And I stepped on Tip's toes last Friday. I don't want to do that. I have to go out for a special spring tea at Montessori schools for my 2.5-year-old granddaughter. I am her special guest, and I'm excited to do just that. So we're going to have lots of fun with that. So welcome, guys. Bring your comments. We'll talk about anything you want in the world of college sports today. We'll start with some college football, and maybe we'll move on to some baseball, a little bit of basketball news. me get the basketball news out of the way real quick. As I said, Todd Golden, the coach of the Florida Gators, fresh off the national championship, signs a 6-year extension for $40 million. He'll be one of the highest paid coaches in the SEC now. Shaq is going to be a volunteer GM at Sacramento State. We'll see how that works out. And Cooper Flagg, is he going to be the number one pick? Is there any doubt that Cooper Flagg will be the number one pick on June 25th when they have the NBA draft? I can't see how there be any question that Cooper Flagg will be the number one pick. Elsewhere around basketball, I said, in college sports in general, Brett Yomark signed an extension through 2030 as a Big 12 commissioner, UConn star forward Alex Caravan is returning for his senior season to the Huskies. He will not be going into the NBA draft. I believe they have until around May 26-ish to declare. What else is going on? Duke's Malak is going into the draft. He's projected to be a lottery pick. We'll see how that works out, along with Cooper Flagg, obviously. And what else? Anything else? No, that's enough for the college basketball. College football we'll focus on. I want to get into a little baseball. I'll give you a little stuff. And again, these shows will start to probably be an hour now as we start to wind down towards our summer hiatus, which will come, I don't know yet, middle of May. I don't know when I don't know for sure when I took a hiatus last year. I know we were back. I wanted to be back by early to the first week or second week of August, but I want to be able to get a month off or so. So probably in June, sometime in June, we'll go through May. We'll go through the College World Series, let's say, probably, which will take us into June. We'll see. We'll miss a few weeks, maybe here and there, but we'll let you know. But the more you guys come and participate, the more incentive I have to stay. And if we do leave for a hiatus, we'll be back well before the college football season starts and get through, looking at all the preseason predictions and whatnot. Today, what's the news today? To me, I think Clemson and Notre Dame announcing a 12-year scheduling deal is very, very important. Is this a complete home and home agreement, by the way? Let's see. They'll pit the two college powers against each other annually through 2038. They last met in 2023 when Clemson won by 8. Are they going to swap? I think this is. Bring your own guts. I think this will be 100% 6-6 home games. And again, scheduling. This is 12-year contract, but contracts are made to be broken. If there's further realignment or whatnot, Notre Dame goes to a league, Clemson changes leagues. Obviously, this could be impacted in that regard. This is good for Notre Dame, though, because they need to have this type of game on their schedule. It's getting harder and harder for Notre Dame to be able to schedule quality non-conference games for the opponent, because they have to. These teams are so deep. These conferences are so deep now. It's hard for Notre Dame to get anybody, and they're locked into their long-term agreements with Stanford and Purdue, Navy, USC, to name a few. I think they're playing Boston College this year as well. We'll start looking at the schedules soon and giving some predictions. But I think that's a big story. What else? Bill Belichick. It appears that the whole Hard Knocks thing with Bill Belichick fell through because his soon-to-be betrothed, well, maybe not soon, maybe not ever, the way things are going, who's bat crap crazy, I'm sorry she is, insisted on an executive producer role for the series Hard Knocks North Carolina Tar Heels. You can't make this stuff up. I know the AC said here last week that, let the guy have some fun. I think she's controlling his life. I think she's a predator in this situation, and she's a gold digger. She's trying to make herself run his life. Some big changes are supposed to be on the way. We'll talk about them if they happen. Scott Frost, it's a new deal. Got an extension. He'll get an extension if UCF makes a bowl game, by the way. He's returning, if you remember. He signed a 5-year, $22 million deal to return as UCF's coach. He had some great success there before leaving for Nebraska, which did not go so well for Scott Frost. He replaces Gus Malzahn, who is now the offensive coordinator at where's Gus? Alabama? It'll come to me. Maybe it's in the story here. Oh, Gus Malzahn left after 4 seasons. By the way, I guarantee. Oh, Florida State is where he went. I guarantee you that was like one of those mutual decisions that was not quite mutual, and it wasn't Gus deciding he wanted to leave. This is a team ready to burst onto the national scene. I really believe if they need the right coach. I don't know if Scott Frost is a guy. He won big there when they were not in a power conference. He put this school on the map to where they have some of the best facilities in the league, training facilities, locker rooms. A lot of money at UCF. Big campus right there in Orlando. We'll see how he does going back. He finished number 6, by the way, back in 2016, I think it was, when they went 13-0, and they declared themselves a national championship, which, by the way, is not quite in the rules. Akron can't play postseason football this year because of academic progress rates not being up to snuff. They had a score of 914 below the 930 minimum for postseason eligibility. The Zips have, Joe Moorhead's been the coach there for a couple of years. They haven't done very well. Maybe the postseason wasn't going to be in their future anyway. They went just 4-8 last year, but it was their best record since 2018 when they're also 4-8. And they went winless in 2019. So maybe the postseason ban isn't such a big deal for Akron. What else? What I want to talk about? I know if we have the right people in the room, I'm sure this will bring some comments. Sharon Moore was likely to be suspended 2 games by the NCAA for deleting texts from Connor Stallion back in the ridiculous, Michigan witch hunt the last year of Jim Harbaugh. If you remember, Harbaugh was suspended for 4 games. They won a national championship. Moore took over when Harbaugh went to San Diego. And now Moore has got himself in the crosshairs because the NCAA still is chasing around ghosts. Not ghosts. I never denied nothing happened. Nothing didn't happen, I guess, would be a double negative. I have to catch myself. My wife catches me in double negatives all the time. But we'll see what happens there. Again, stop with the witch hunts. The NCAA, if you want to get serious, stop some real stuff, right? Matt Brust, how are you, my friend? Speaking of college, Matt, I got to get you on to talk about some St. John's basketball soon. Tough loss. I'm going to pivot here from college football to basketball because Matt Brust, we've had Matt Brust on the 101 with Keith Engle show back a few years back now. But Matt was a really, really fine player at St. John's for Looney Carnesecca. And I know I sent my condolences to you and many other of your teammates when Coach Carnesecca passed, Matt, but I want to say that to you here publicly. I know he was a big part of your life, and and a great loss for you, and very close to his 100th birthday, I think, too, if I'm not mistaken. But St. John's under Rick Pitino, I know that I think you're a big fan, Matt, of what Coach Pitino did this past year. A bit of a disappointing finish, but listen, to get back into the tournament, win a game, tough way to go out. But I think this team is primed to make a run before Coach Pitino ages himself out of the job, let's say. But Matt Brust, again, fine player at St. John's back in the day, when St. John's was relevant, more so maybe than they are yet today. So we welcome Matt to the show. Thanks, Matt. We're going to get you back on. We should have you on the college football huddle show, maybe before basketball this fall. Love to have you on to talk about St. John's and the Big East a little bit going forward. But we're happy to see you here, Matt. And again, our condolences on Coach Carnesecca. Great man. And, you know, I'll say this about Coach Carnesecca. Coaches can be a lot of things, right? They need to win. Obviously, they need to win. They're at the highest level of college sports. But they also need to be molder of young men. And I think Coach Carnesecca was the epitome of that. Maybe he never won a national championship of basketball, but he won a national championship of life. I think he led his life in the right way and steered kids in the right direction. You've seen a clip of, I'm sure, Matt, of Coach Pitino in the locker room this past year, talking to kids about adversity, right? When they were crumbling a little bit. I think it was halftime of a game. They were losing, and they were, heads down, bad attitudes, talking about adversity. And he was talking about life. He wasn't just talking about that basketball game or any basketball game. He was talking about life. That's what coaches need to instill. That's what sports instills in people. That's why sports is so important. That's why you should keep score almost at every level. I guess tiny little kids, I get it. Toddlers. It's okay to lose. Just lose the way you should, giving everything you have, and learn. I learned a lot more from my losses in sports, and I didn't play at the level Matt played at. I learned a lot of how to get through life's adversities from sports. I'm sure Matt has as well. Matt and I have talked about his life, and he does some coaching still now. I believe you're still coaching, Matt. I don't know for sure. You and I haven't spoke directly in some time, but there's always something to give back and take away from sports. So I don't like, my position on participation trophies. John DeLon used to come on this show, our SEC elitist. I know John's okay. I really do. We haven't seen John. We didn't see John through the whole football season. I pray to God he's okay. Big LSU fan, big SEC fan. And he talked about the college playoff being the expanded college playoff being just a participation trophy event. I mean, no, it's not. You're not getting everybody a trophy just for getting there. You still have to win the championship. And I think at one time he brought up to me, maybe he didn't. If he didn't, John, I apologize. It was somebody else who said, wow, we give everybody on a team that wins a trophy, even if they didn't participate. And that's not even nearly the same thing. If you give kids participation trophies now just for showing up to a tournament, they're going to be expecting to get rewards just for showing up to work and not be productive. I've seen it up close. Fortunately, not with people that work for me now, but have in the past. And that will only last, by the way, 100. Oh, where are we? 112 more days. That's counting weekends and PTO, holidays. Got to be close to that 80-day mark, I would think. Can't do the math real good. Oh, anyway, where was I? Thanks for popping in, Matt, if you're still there. Matt, if you're still there, I'd love to have you just even pop in. Just say, I'm here, and I'll give you a link. I'll put a link right in the comments, and we'll talk some St. John's. We'll talk some Rick Pitino. It's the off season for football. It's the off season for basketball. I want to fit a little bit baseball in, where St. John's also has a pretty good history, by the way. Maybe not so much recently, but they've had some really good players come through that program. John Franco, Frank Viola, a couple that come to mind real quick. But if you're still here, Matt, give me a thumbs up. I'll put a link in the chat, and you can pop in, and we'll talk some St. John's for 20 minutes or however long you got. But there's AC, our good friend. Anyway, thanks for coming, Matt. I got myself discombobulated. The shows today now, without games, it's hard to kind of focus on what we really want to talk about. I'm going to talk some baseball before we go, and we'll look at the top 25 in the upcoming conference tournaments and such. But football, I wanted to focus a little bit on what was I going to focus on? The quarterback situations around the power conferences. How are all these teams situated? We'll start in the ACC. We'll go alphabetically. Boston College, as we know, last year's starter who got benched, Thomas Castellanos, is gone. They've got Grayson James, ended the season as a starter. He played okay. He's a favorite to win the job. They do have an Alabama transfer, Dylan Lonergan, who's I don't expect him to win this job, possibly, but I don't think a decision will probably get made too early into camp. Cal's got Ohio State transfer Devin Brown, who will likely be the starter, is my guess. He'd be the front runner anyway. They do have a blue chip freshman in John Jerron Cowie. Where are the Smith and Joneses tonight? Saga Palute and redshirt freshman EJ Kemingnog to battle Brown. I would expect Brown to win that job. Clemson certainly set as Clay. Boy, I'm having trouble talking all of a sudden. Cade Klubnik will enter his third season as a starter, and he should be one of the top quarterbacks in the game. And I think Clemson and Dabo Swinney are getting ready for a second act. I got a feeling. Got to give a shout out to the end of that Pacers game last night. Obviously, we're focusing on college sports AC, but you're 100% right. Second time in this postseason, they've overcome a huge deficit with very little time in that fourth quarter, and done a great job. And the Knicks are playing tonight, game 2 in Boston. We'll get onto that as well. Back to the ACC. Duke has moved on from Malik Murphy, who played last year at 2024. Didn't play badly. He's threw a school record 25 touchdown passes. But they've got a very heralded transfer from Tulane, Darian Mensah. Not as in smart, I don't think. Well, maybe smart. I shouldn't say he isn't. The Seminoles, who I mentioned earlier, have Gus Malzone as their new offensive coordinator. Got out of town ahead of the posse, potentially, or was pushed out of town by the posse at UCF. He'll have that BC transfer, Tom Castellanos, starting. I'm sure he's a clear starter there. And we'll see whether FSU has had a better transfer portal run this year than they may have last year. Last year was just a total loss. And I don't know that this coaching staff is going to be able to survive a second season like last year. I don't think they need to. Maybe they don't even need to make the playoff, but they've got to be a competitive 9-3 team, maybe even 8-4. They've got to rebuild this thing or they're going to be in trouble. Georgia Tech, I love Haynes King. I love his toughness. I like the way they're just never out of a game when Haynes King is there, and he's a great fit for this offense and a great fit for Brett Key, I think, in his personality. And he's also got a top-notch running back in Jamal Haynes there. Georgia Tech, watch out for him this year. Jeff Brom has done a great job at Louisville maximizing the portal the last couple of years. He started when he first got there with Jack Plummer, Tyler Slock last year, who became a second-round draft pick. And this year he's going to try again with USC flameout Miller Moss. We'll see how that works out. Miami, who everybody knows I root for because of family ties, will have $4 million transfer Carson Beck, who still is not ready to throw. He didn't practice at all this spring as he recovers from the elbow injury that he had in the SEC championship game last year. And at NC State, we've got CJ Bailey, who came on last year at the end of the year, being this is his first offseason as a clear-cut starter. Had a pretty good run near the end of last year. North Carolina, Bill Belichick's first season, lots of transfer potential here, including at quarterback, where they think they found a solution in South Alabama transfer Gio Lopez. We'll see how that works out. Threw for 18 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions for South Alabama. Listen, it's a lot different playing at South Alabama than it is playing in the ACC. But we'll see how that works out. Pittsburgh has Eli Holston cemented at the top of the depth chart, and he's proved he can be productive. He played really well during their 7-0 start, and he got banged up. And his backup, Julian Duggar, has hit the transfer portal, so he's going to be the clear-cut starter there. SMU, there's not much of a question. Kevin Jennings is still there, still the starter. They did lose 3 quarterbacks in the portal, but it really shouldn't matter. They did bring in the well-traveled Tyler Van Dyke, former Hurricane, by the way, and also played at Wisconsin last year. He's recovering from a torn ACL, but it gives them some depth. At Stanford, Elijah Brown is a clear leader there. But they did add UCF transfer Dylan Risk as well, who passed. He played well when he came in for KJ Jefferson last year. Notre Dame, who lost Kyle McCord, became an NFL draft pick last year. They added Steve Angeli, who was the backup at Notre Dame for both Sam Hartman 2 years ago and Riley Leonard last year. Led one drive for a field goal in the championship game last year. He will compete against LSU transfer Ricky Collins, who had the benefit of spring ball because Angeli just transferred. I think Collins is going to win this job, by the way. They did lose their top wide receiver at Syracuse as well to Penn State, so that could play into whether they can continue the success that they build on the success that they started with last year. Cavaliers at Virginia. How many teams are in these conferences? Jesus, I'm not even through the first conference yet. That's right, it's only 7:30. Cavaliers are not ranked higher than 95th in scoring offense during Tony Elliott's 3-year tenure. It's been tough between the tragic shooting deaths there of students and players a couple of years ago, and things just have not worked out. And I would think Tony Elliott's going to have to find a way to work up some miracles this year to be able to save his job. But he will be trying to rely on Chandler Morris, transfer from North Texas, who's also been at Oklahoma and TCU. This is a common theme around college sports, of course. You played for 3, 4, 5 teams before you get somewhere. And Virginia Tech, Kyron Drones, who was the starter, underwent some undisclosed medical procedure that kept him out of the spring practices. We'll see whether he's able to come back or they have to find another quarterback. Wake Forest, who hasn't been the same since Sam Hartman finished up his record-setting career there. They have 2 candidates for the starting role. Dave Clawson also has left as the head coach, so a lot of changes at Wake Forest. And we'll get Larry Sorensen on this summer to kind of talk about the new regime at Wake Forest and what that looks like. For now, there's a couple of candidates for the starting role. South Carolina transfer Robbie Ashford. He's at his fourth school 4 years, by the way. And Charlotte transfer Deshaun Purdy will compete. Coach Jake Dickert, who came from Washington State and has done a pretty good job with quarterbacks. Cam Ward, remember, was starring at Washington State before he did so at Miami and became the number 1 pick in the draft. Let's move on to the Big 12. Arizona. They've got a new offensive coordinator in Seth Doge, not the same Doge you might be thinking about. And if you are, I'm sorry. He said of Noah Fafita, I have the best quarterback in the league, without a doubt. That's pretty good, big confidence. He underwhelmed last year after he had a really good 2023 with Jed Finch there, who was a great quarterback coach at New England, by the way, before he coached at Arizona and now at Washington. Arizona State's Sam Leavitt obviously took this team into the college football playoff last year, nearly pulled off an upset of Texas. Expectations will be high. BYU, their returning starter Jake Retzlaff is on. The focus for Jake is to finish stronger in 2025 and leading the Cougars toward that conference championship and into the playoff, hopefully. He threw 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in 4 November games last year. Not a good finish. He had a really good start to the season. He was a great story. They had a great spotlight on him on College Game Day, mid-season maybe, as he's of the Jewish faith. And it's interesting that I think he said it's only he and maybe 2 or 3 other students on the entire campus of the Jewish faith in the Mormon school. So kind of interesting dynamic, but it's worked out for him. He needs to focus and finish stronger next year. Baylor, Sawyer Robinson had a pretty good 2024 with 3,000 passing yards, 28 touchdowns. Very few interceptions. So there's great optimism that Baylor can rebound after they did win their final 6 games of the regular season after having a poor start to the season. And Coach Dave Aranda, looked like he was in trouble to keep his job, but a strong finish. Win 6 in a row will save your job most of the time. Cincinnati's Brendan Sorsby passed for 2,800 yards last year and rushed for almost 500 more. Counted for 27 total touchdowns. Scott Satterfield's another guy probably on the hot seat, and he's going to need Sorsby to step up, probably even a little bit more than that if he's going to save his job with the Bearcats. Colorado, we know what happened with their quarterback, right? I believe he went in the NFL draft. I don't think he went number 3. I don't think he went in the first round. I don't think he went in the second round. I don't think he went in the third round. I don't think he went in the 4th round. But he did get drafted in the 5th round. And let me say this about Shedeur Sanders. I do think he can play in the NFL. I do not think he was first-round talent. I don't think you take the leap on a quarterback who's not a sure thing. I'm not even sure Cam Ward's a sure thing in the first round. History says you miss more than you hit. That's a different topic. They'll be trying to replace him with Liberty transfer Caden Salter. But they also have a promising freshman in Julian Lewis. I'm pretty sure Salter's going to win this job. You got to remember something. They also lost their 3 top wide receivers. Of course, Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner. Horn caught over 100 passes. I can't remember the other kid's name, but he caught 70 or 80 passes. It's going to be an interesting year in Colorado next year with Coach Sanders. We'll see how that goes. Houston, Connor Wegman, who had an injury-plagued career at Texas A&M, he'll get another shot to live up to his pedigree, which he was a 5-star recruit with Houston this year. He'll be the starter unless injury sidelines him again. At Iowa State, Rocco Beck was one of the more prolific passers in the league last year, played very well, 25 touchdown passes. He's not going to be challenged for that job. Jalen Daniels struggled last year. Wasn't a full participant. This is at Kansas, by the way. Struggled last year at times after a really good season the year before. Didn't play. Wasn't a full participant this spring due to some knee injuries. We'll see what happens there. If he's on his game, he's electric, and his team can run the football as well. And they're well coached. Lance Leipold's a really good coach. I don't think he's going to be at Kansas much longer. And there are a couple of backups to step up. Kansas State. We all know that last year Will Howard left there to go to Ohio State. That worked out pretty good for him. Avery Johnson was the starter. He's a pretty good quarterback. This team went 9-4, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And it's possible they and their quarterback take a step forward this year. Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy's back with some changes to his staff. This is a crowded quarterback competition, a quarterback room, and quarterback's been a problem for this team the last 4 or 5 years, and they've been trending down competitively. Really the worst stretch of Coach Gundy's career in my mind. But they've got Smith, who I will not try to say his first name, and Garrett Rangel left. And they've got TCU transfer Haas Hengney is a favorite, but Zane Flores will also get a look there as well. TCU, as we said, Josh Hoover was among the list of Tennessee targets this spring after Nico left, but he did remain with the Horned Frogs, and he'll be the starter there. Texas Tech, they throw a lot. They've thrown a lot of money around here this past offseason. They didn't chase Nico when he hit the portal, so they're sticking with Brahan Morton in a critical year for this program. He's a returning starter. Had a very up and down season last year. Texas Tech did. Their defense was terrible early in the year. It got better, but their offense kind of slacked off near the end of the year. We'll see what they do. UCF, as we mentioned, Scott Frost back as a head coach, first time since 2016, I think. He left for Nebraska, and it did not work out, but he replaces Gus Malzahn, and he'll decide between Indiana transfer Taven Jackson, FAU transfer Cam Foucher, and holdover Ja'Curry Brown. My guess is that Brown does not keep this job. The Utes at Utah. Cam Rising has finally decided to retire from football, which is a weird term for a college football player, but I guess it fits these days. He had 7 years with the Utes, mostly injured. He showed great promise. Injured all of last year. There was talk he would come back this year for an 8th year, but did not happen. He's going to retire and will never likely play in the NFL. We'll see how that works out. I don't think that'll happen. West Virginia, there's another big competition there that will likely send deep into training camp. Nico Marcoli, Jalen Henderson, and these are all transfers, by the way. And Max Brown from Charlotte will battle it out for the starting role, with Rich Rodriguez back in his first year with West Virginia. He obviously had a very good tenure there 2 decades ago. And the Big Ten, Illinois, Luke Altmaier was one. Listen, this team had a very surprising season last year, right? Luke Altmaier was a big reason for the offseason optimism that they can be even better this year. When Tennessee's job opened up, when Nico left. His name was mentioned a lot, but he turned right to social media and said, I'm not leaving. So we'll see how that works out for him. Indiana with big shoes to fill. Curtis Rourke did a lot for the Hoosiers last year, but he's in the NFL now. Fernando Mendoza is probably he's a Cal transfer, by the way. He probably will have the first crack at this starting job, I would think, this spring. In Iowa, South Dakota State transfer Mark Gronowski, not Gronkowski, had surgery to repair a slight shoulder tear, which limited him during the spring, but he should be healthy and should be the starter in Iowa. Iowa's been looking for a quarterback. I swear to God, since Chuck Long, which is, if you're old enough like me, you'll remember the name. If you're not, you're like, what? Who? Kirk Ferentz is the longest tenured coach in college football. Always a good team, never great. Maryland. Mike Loxley's in trouble there. I was a little surprised he's kept his job last year, but he's got a blue chip freshman in Malik Washington. He's their future. I think he could possibly even beat out their UCLA transfer Justin Martin and become the present at Maryland, if you will. Michigan is a Fresno State transfer, Mikey Keene, although he missed spring practices with some injuries. But it did open the door for, the $10 million man, Bryce Underwood, to gain some traction to potentially start as a freshman. At Michigan State, you've got Adian Childs, displayed a lot of highs and lows. There's trouble in Michigan State. The Spartans are going to struggle again this year, I think, even in Jonathan Smith's offense. Now, third year that they've been playing this offense. I think they're going to be at the bottom of this league again. Minnesota, Drake Lindsley is the overwhelming favorite after his main competition transferred out just a few weeks after just a few months with the program. In Nebraska, everything revolves around their talented sophomore Raiola, Dylan Raiola. He needs to improve in every facet. I mean, he showed promise, especially early in the season, but he really got to take some big steps forward here in a sophomore season if Nebraska is going to take similar steps forward in the Big Ten. Oh, Northwestern. They haven't been much fun to watch for several seasons on offense. They're hoping that Preston Stone, SMU transfer, can help change their fortunes there. As we know, Ohio State, they've got big shoes to fill, and Will Howard and Devin Brown, as we said, transferred out to go to Arizona. Or no, where'd he go? Devin Brown. Maybe he did go to Arizona. No, I don't know. We'll get it back. Anyway, they do have some guys there. Julian Slalin is the number one quarterback from the class of 2024 recruiting class. He'll get a chance. Lincoln Kleinholz will compete in the fall to determine who will replace him. This is going to be key for Ohio State in repeating. Their wide receivers will be good. Their defense will be good. Do they have the quarterback? This is the first year they've had a real question at quarterback, in my mind, in quite a few years. Oregon still hasn't named a starter. Dante Moore, was a five-star recruit for UCLA, never really worked out there. He's a presumptive favorite, but Austin Novosad is also in the competition there. Penn State, no question there. Drew Alar obviously will be back at the controls. They're expecting a big year, especially with, as I mentioned, Trebor Pena, Syracuse standout wide receiver, transferring to Happy Valley. Will really give him a boost. He's a speedster. He's a really, really fine receiver. Purdue, oh my God, it's going to be a tough year for for their first year head coach this year. I mean, I think you got probably 5 quarterbacks in the mix here, including Malachi Singleton, who came from Arkansas, Evans Chubba, who came from Washington State, and Ryan Brown's in the mix. Purdue's a mess, and I don't see them turning this around anytime soon. Rutgers, I would think Kalimakidis is back for his second season as a starter. Rutgers is just never going to compete in the Big Ten. The worst thing Rutgers ever did was go to the Big Ten. This team should be a AAC team. And they'd have a really good football program. And I don't know why they don't see that. Especially with the way the Big Ten has gone. Rutgers is like a fish out of water. They'll compete in some games and surprise you here and there, but they're never going to be at the top of this league in football. Maybe basketball, they can have a shot, not in football. UCLA, we know that Nico transferred there. I guess you can call them a winner. He's a big upgrade for them. Going to be a lot of pressure on him after the spotlight that was on him with his Tennessee dispute, which turned into his departure. We'll see. His brother also transferred in there. He's a quarterback who left. I can't remember which school he originally committed to, but then his father had him transfer to Arkansas without ever stepping on campus. And then he left for UCLA still without ever having stepped on Arkansas's campus. So this is a great father figure here. I hope he isn't going to be their agent going forward. USC, Lincoln Riley, who's under some heat there, said Jaden Mavia is clearly the number one quarterback right now. So there's a little drama there. Washington, Desmond Williams Jr. played extended snaps in just a handful of games. And that could indicate that he'll be the starter there. Washington's a young team, played much better in their first year in the Big Ten under Jed Fitch than I thought they would. We'll see if they can take another step forward this year. Wisconsin has Maryland transfer Billy Edwards Jr. Luke Fickell could be under a little pressure at Wisconsin. Hasn't worked out there at all. So he's got 2 transfers. He's got Maryland transfer Billy Edwards Jr., as I said, and San Diego State transfer Danny O'Neill, who will battle it out for that job. And lastly, we have the SEC. A lot of changes here to talk about, obviously. Alabama, which lost Jalen Miller, going to really surprise people in Seattle in a couple of years. He needs some time. He's going to surprise people, though, in Seattle. They have a new offensive coordinator there on Ryan Grubb, who did coach with Kalen DeBoer at Washington. He joins there now. Ty Simpson will probably start. He said if they were playing football tomorrow, he would be the starter. So he's got a leg up. He'll get a little challenge from Austin Mack, and they do have a 5-star freshman in Keelan Russell. So we'll see how that goes there. Arkansas, this is a big year for them. I mean, their head coach barely survived last season as well. Talon Green returns as a starter. The main intrigue there is going to be, whether Arkansas Collective can obtain the buyout money from Madden Imaliva, Nico's brother, who follows older brother to they want to get the money back. How can you not get the money back? Auburn has Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. Didn't really, I don't think, ever put it together last year. They struggled. I think Hugh Freeze will probably know how to use this kid better than the Oklahoma staff did last year. They do have a 5-star freshman, true freshman, in Deuce Knight. We'll see where he lands in that depth chart. But Jackson Arnold likely will be the starter there. In Florida, DJ Langway is the face of the program now. This program surprised everybody. They had a juggernaut of a schedule last year, and they had 5 losses. I think they went 8-5, but all 5 of their losses were to top 15 teams, and they played them all tough, and they beat Mississippi. Langway is the guy. He was limited with a sore shoulder this spring, but I don't see that being a problem. I do have a little bit of depth with Harrison Bailey transferring in from UCLA. And in Columbus is with us. College football is way better when the Ohio State Buckeyes are on top, and they are. We just went through the Big Ten, Ed, and big question I have, I mean, with Devin Brown leaving, who is going to be the quarterback at Ohio State? And Ohio State is the big question, right? Is Sayan the answer? I think this is the biggest question at quarterback that Ohio State's had in at least a decade. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Ed. You would know better than I. And I'd love to get your feedback on that while I continue to go through the SEC. I would love to circle back on any of these guys, anything we're talking about. We can circle back. So Ed, let me ask you this. I know I do believe Sayan will win the job. My question really is, and you're close to this program. I know you're a big Ohio State fan, obviously. But try to give me an unbiased answer. Is he good enough to win another national championship? And isn't this the biggest decision they've had? And he says Conholtz is close, which is pretty much what I told you guys. Are they good enough to repeat as national champions? And isn't this the biggest question mark they've had at quarterback in at least a decade, maybe more? But while Ed answers me, I'm going to go back through finish up with the SEC. Georgia, Gunnar Stockton will enter the spring as a favorite to win the job. He didn't do anything to hurt himself in the spring, so I don't think they've got a lot of options there. Kentucky, Encart Word transfer, Zach Calzada, who spent some time at Texas A&M and Auburn. He's a QB1 right now as he enters his 7th collegiate season. Get used to hearing that stuff. Cutter Boley's the backup. Nussmeier had a very productive first season as a full-time starter. He's probably a potential top 10 pick next year in the draft. We'll see. He will be the starter for LSU. Mississippi State, which is a mess. They got a Florida State transfer, Cromenhook, and blue chip freshman Camaro Taylor, who are promising additions. But the returning starter, I think Blake Shapen, maybe it's not a good thing. It's probably going to be the starter. Missouri's got Sam Horn, who enters 4th season with the program. But they did bring in Brabula from Penn State. Neither's ever started a game. So Missouri could be taking a step back this year. Big problems at Oklahoma. I think this coaching staff is in trouble without a big season. And John Mateer is a guy that they're putting all their trust in, and we'll see how that works out. Ole Miss has got to replace Jackson Dart, first-round pick of the Giants. Austin Simmons will start, but Ole Miss added transfer Trinidad Chambliss, who led Ferris State to the Division II championship. We'll see how that works out. North Carolina, Lenora Sellers is one of the best. He's got a lot of talent. If he plays within himself, doesn't make mistakes, doesn't give up games, South Carolina will continue that momentum that they built last season. Tennessee, we all know we basically had a trade, not a real trade. Stop, guys. There's no trades in college football yet, but it was a convenient happenstance that when Nico left for UCLA, Joey Aguilar, who had spent time at Appalachian State, had just moved to UCLA in a transfer portal. He is in turn transferred to Tennessee. I would expect him to win the job. And I'll get to your comment in a second, Ed, because I want to continue this conversation. Texas is already growing buzz about Arch Manning. We don't know how good he is. My guess is we need to stop. First of all, we need to stop talking about him being the number 1 pick in the draft till we see him play a full game. My guess is he'll be great. But let's see him play a full game before we go crazy. Texas A&M, Marcel Reed should be the starter. He took over last year when Wegman had some injuries, as we talked about. And Vanderbilt, as Diego Pavia was relatively unknown last year, but he did really, really well. He'll be the starter this year. Notre Dame, of the Independents, Steve Angeli's departure leaves 2 players competing for the starting role. I believe C.J. Carr will be the starter, but Kevin Minchie will give him a run. So let's see what Ed says about this topic in Ohio State. Saying is good enough. Honestly, the year C.J. Stroud won the job, that was the year we feared the most going into the season. Interesting. So that's within the last 10 years. That's within the last 5 years. That's good to know. But you know what? Here's the thing. They don't have to have a great quarterback because their wide receivers are going to be lights out again. Their defense is going to be lights out again. This is what I said early on the show, Ed, when we started this conversation about quarterback situations throughout the power conferences. The monkey's off days back, and I think that's going to make all the difference in the world. Defensive line and the middle, especially, is the area of most concern. I still think their defense will be fine. They play good defense as a rule, I think. Maybe when they run into the Oregons of the world, they don't. And I don't know if you've been on, Ed, since you must have been with us since the championship game. If you haven't been there, congratulations on a tremendous, tremendous run through the postseason. I had as you know from watching the show last year, I had a big future bet from last July, or last August, I guess I made it on Notre Dame that to win the national championship that would have paid close to $8,000. But didn't come to fruition because your team is so good. It's good to see Ryan Day, I guess, get the monkey off his back. But here's the question, Ed. Actually, let me finish this. I'll give you my question in a second. Buckeyes beat Tennessee so bad, and now it's Rocky Low instead of Rocky Top. Here's the question, Ed, because I don't know that we've had this discussion. Maybe we have. If we have, I apologize. So you win the national championship. How long is the honeymoon period for Ryan Day if he doesn't beat Michigan? I'm not saying he'll get fired if he doesn't beat Michigan this year, but he's lost 4 times in a row to Michigan, correct? If he loses a 5th time and a 6th time, is Ryan Day going to survive 6 straight? I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm just talking hypothetically. And don't tell me how, Michigan's not nearly in the class of Ohio State, because they weren't last year either, and they beat them. My question is, let's just assume, let's look 2 years ahead. He competes. He's in the playoff again next year, but he lost to Michigan. He competes for the playoff in 2 years from now, maybe makes it, loses to Michigan. So he doesn't win the national championship in either one of those years. So he doesn't have multiple national championships, which ought to protect him, I'm sure. Maybe that's part of the questions. So he loses 6 in a row, has 1 national championship. Does he survive that? So that's 2 more losses in a row. He wins a national championship, but loses 2 more times to Michigan. Is that enough to save him if the one isn't? Three years if they kept losing to Michigan. Would another national title change? So with the 1 national championship, you're saying he could lose 3 more in a row, which would be 7 straight to Michigan. That's with the 1 national championship. If they have multiple national championships, can he survive 3 more losses? You're not going to fire him off a national championship season. Let's just say he wins it next year, back to back. We get the. I'll come back to your thing, AC. No, just hang on a second. So they win next year, back-to-back, but lose to Michigan. Then they don't win the national championship the following 2 years and lose 3 straight. They got 2 national championships now, back-to-back, and 7 straight losses to Michigan. Does he survive? It's an interesting question. So a natty automatically buys him 2 to 3 years, depending on how close the losses were. Oh, now you're throwing in a qualifier there. So this one buys him 2 to 3 years, and another one buys him 2 to 3 more years. So theoretically, we could be talking 10 straight losses to Michigan. He'd still be the coach. If he, let's say he won back-to-back championships. I'm not sure. I'm not saying he should lose his job, by the way. AC, the thing is now, as we just saw Ohio State can lose to Michigan and still get in the playoffs and win it. Well, that's because of the way the Big Ten is set up now, right? So we saw they can lose to Michigan and still get in the playoffs and win it all. In the past, when Ohio State lost that game, the season was over. I get that. You're absolutely right, AC, and that's a totally different situation, right? When you were playing to go to the Rose Bowl every year. And your season wasn't over, but you're going to, whatever the, CarQuest Bowl. But here's the question. It's funny. I'm looking at your. You look like somebody I know, AC. By the way, I love the poker chips in front of you. I really can't notice it when I see on the smaller screen in front of me, but I just happen to have the TV on the Roku channel tonight. And my head is giant on the Roku channel. Oof. But here's the thing. We talk about this outside. We're not in the middle of that. We're not Ed in Columbus, and we're not, Bob from Michigan, from Ann Arbor. I get it. You can get to a national championship, but I still think if he loses 7 straight, let's say, to Michigan, he's going to be in trouble without multiple national championships. With that one we looked at. Titles mean more than gold pants. Do they? So you're saying basically what AC said then, right? Is it the reason that AC said? Because now your season's not over if you lose to the gold pants? I would think that there is a contingent, and I'm not sure how big it would be, that might think the opposite way. Again, if he wins 3 out of 4 national championships, he's not going to get fired. He's not going to get fired off a season he lost won the national championship. So I guess circumstances are going to dictate whether my scenario comes to fruition. Again, my scenario, I guess, would be he's got to win back-to-back, and then he loses, say, 4 more to Michigan. Is he in trouble? That's kind of where I'm at. Obviously, if he lost his 7th straight or 6th or 7th straight, let's say 7th straight, to Michigan and won a national championship in that year, he's not going to get fired. But if that national championship is 2 or 3 years in the rear view mirror, and then I just lost my 7th or 8th straight, gosh, I don't know. If he's getting them deep runs in the playoffs, losing to Michigan will be just bragging rights. So, and there's a good thing. Or not a good thing. Here's a good question. Is that good for football or not, AC? Ed seems to feel the same way. Is that really good for football, college football? The rivalry means nothing, in other words, as long as you win the national championship. I bet you Woody and Bo wouldn't feel that way. I don't think they would. Best line I ever heard. And Ed, you'll know this. You should know this. I don't know what year it was, Ed. You might know the year. HBO's got a special about the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. It's just off the charts. And during the 10-year war, Michigan, I want to say 68, 69, whatever. Ohio State was up by like 50. And they scored a touchdown with no time left. And Woody went for 2 instead of kicking the extra point. And afterwards, you already know the punchline here, probably, Ed. Afterwards, he's asked, why did you go for 2 when you're up by 50? And he said, because they wouldn't let me go for 3. That's how that rivalry used to be. I think the rivalry used to come before national championships. And you guys, again, are quite possibly 100% accurate. But to me, it's also a symptom of what's wrong with college football, or what's going to cause a big issue in college football as we go forward. It's only one old man's opinion. Old folks like you. We've had this discussion. I don't even remember. Let me look at your picture here. I got to see your picture bigger. Hold on. That ain't an old picture. Old folks are me. I'm 65. We had this discussion before. How old are you, by the way? You can't say old folks like you without telling me how old you are. And I know you have before, and I apologize for forgetting. You're probably older than I think you are, from what I remember. Old folks like me still care about Michigan, but it's really about natties. Recruits from Florida, Texas, California want natty rings. Like Bob Dylan saying, the times are changing. They are, and unfortunately, old guys like me have a lot of problem with that. What do you got? Big picture. It's good for big picture. Did you go to Perth with me at AC? Big picture. It's good for college football, but for school rivals, it's not so good. It's the same thing, though. No, the two are impossibly intertwined. This has always been my argument, by the way, that college football is a regional sport, and regional rivalries are so important to it. It's got national appeal, these regional rivalries. But if someday we don't have Ohio, we've already lost tons of regional rivalries. And I think if this one becomes, we don't care, then I think that's bad for college football. If you just want a pro league, because rivalries don't matter in professional football. I mean, I don't care if I lose to the Jets if I win the Super Bowl. In college football, it's different. There's always a smell if you lost to your rival. Of course, you're right. AC is absolutely right. A lot of times in college football, if you lost your rival, you may not have been playing for a national championship anyway. But it's part of what I don't like about what's happening to college sports. It's going to become like professional football on Saturday. And I've told you guys 100 times, I can deal. And I've learned to deal because I have to. I have to learn to deal with it. The new realities. And I can deal with it, and I will deal with it as long as I feel the same excitement, the same energy on the fields and the stadiums across this country on Saturday. That's so much different. And you guys are college football fans, and you know damn well that I'm right when I say the energy level on Saturday is light years ahead of the energy level on Sundays. Light years. When I don't feel that anymore, there probably won't be a college football huddle show because I'm not going to care about college football. I already got professional football on Sunday. I don't need it on Saturday. And so far, I've been able to separate these two things because last year, the first big challenge, I still felt that excitement every Saturday morning watching game day, getting excited. The campus feel. If I can keep that, I'll be okay. But a lot of times that feel and that energy is driven by the two teams playing on the field that day. Just one old man's opinion. Ed's 45. If I was 45, I wouldn't be calling myself old. I get 20 years on you. I'll split the difference. I'll take 55. We'll both be 55. I tell you, until I've loved my 60s. I really have until last year or so. When I start to feel 65 more mornings than not. I used to feel 45 for a long time. I felt 45 until I was about 63. The only rivalry that's going to matter is Army-Navy. That one's going to lose some of its luster too, by the way. They're playing in the same conference. What happens when they play in the AAC championship game 1 week and then in their regular season game the next week? Or they've got a schedule, or they get scheduled in the regulars to play each other in the regular season. They didn't last year. It wasn't a league game last year. Part of the charm of Army-Navy is that's the only game there is that day. That's going to go away. I don't know what the situation is with it this year. Let me take a look at something here. We may not get into any baseball till next week. That's fine. Conference tournaments will start in about a week. I want to look at, bear with me a second. I want to look at, the regular season schedule for 2025. All right. So Army-Navy still a standalone game. It must not be a league game because it's being played on 12/13, which has got to be, well, maybe it's not. Well, maybe that's being played before the championship game. I doubt it. I doubt the championship games are December 20th. Army-Navy's going to lose its luster when it's not got that standalone. This is all you got to watch. I don't mean that in a demeaning way. I love Army-Navy. It's my favorite game of the year. And by the way, Ed, that argument or that comment is really what I'm arguing against. I'm telling you, when that's the only rivalry that matters, if it matters, that's not good for college football. Do you think it's good for college football if Michigan, Ohio State continues to lose its luster? Because there's going to come a time where those two teams aren't competing for a championship. And if you've gone 10 years where it's like, oh, it's another game, you think it's going to matter that 10th time when it didn't matter the 9 times before? We didn't care about it as much, but we're going to rev it up now because nothing else matters but this game. It's not going to happen. I don't know if that, I don't know that it's salvageable, quite frankly. I really don't. I would like to say it would be. I'd like to roll the clock back about 30 years, but I can't do that. I haven't figured out how to go back in time yet. So I could be 45. I think AC, if I remember, you're in the same age bracket as Ed. It's a great, listen, you guys aren't wrong. AC feels like this year's playoffs, the national championship game was the best system. I don't have a problem with that. That's not the problem. Every team that deserved a shot got a shot, and one bad loss for someone like Ohio State didn't cost us a true championship. Listen, I like the playoff. I'm not arguing about that. The rivalries are being destroyed by a lot of things, mostly the transfer portal. I'm sorry, mostly realignment. And I know that they found a way to preserve that by, natural rivalries being maintained within conference schedules because you can't play everybody in these leagues anymore. So I'm not really, and again, maybe I want my cake and eat it too. And you can't do that. Right. But maybe I feel that I really want what we saw last year. And by the way, I do want something different. I shouldn't say that. I do. I love the playoff. I still would rather see, and here I'm going to get sued again by Basement Bob, or I'll get a threatening email because he stalks me and sends me emails. He's going to sue me every time I mention this. Even though I didn't say I came up with the idea, I just advocate for it. But the playoff system I would like, and it would still incorporate teams not getting left out because of one bad loss. I want all the champions of every conference to get in. 16 teams. There's only 10 conferences, I think. That leaves you 6 at-large bids. Now, winning the conference has a whole lot more meaning than it does today. And you might keep that rivalry feeling in these rivalries that are left. And by the way, Ed, don't assume that your rivalry with Michigan will go away. Won't go away. I'll bet you Oklahoma and Nebraska thought they'd be playing each other forever. I'll bet you Oklahoma State and Oklahoma thought they'd be playing each other forever. They're gone. Because we're not done with this whole realignment thing. And Michigan and Ohio State will end up playing in the same divisions, leagues, whatever we call them in the future when there's 48 teams playing at the top of the college football level in 4 divisions or whatever it turns out to be, or 8 divisions across the country. They'll always get put together. I would hope. But there's no sure things. Texas and Texas A&M didn't play for 12 years. Or more. I don't know. So I want the best of both worlds. I want all the champions to play. All of them. And then the 6 best teams other than that. And that would still give the teams that had a bad loss a chance. And I think it would keep those rivalry games more important. And there aren't many left. What are the big rivalry games now besides the Big Ten and the SEC? Where's the big rivalries? Historic rivalries. Where are they? Michigan, Ohio State. Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia. They're all in the SEC and the Big Ten. Historic. I'm not saying there's not new rivalries, and I guess we can make new rivalries, and I should be okay with that. But I'm a nostalgic guy. I like what I grew up with, and it's not there. Quite frankly, as much as I like this playoff system, AC, I'd be just as happy to go back to the chaotic days of the bowl systems where the Big Ten went to the Rose Bowl, the Pac-12 or 10 or 8 went to the Rose Bowl. The SEC went to the Sugar Bowl. The Big 8, 10, 12, whatever it was, I went to the Orange Bowl. And those games decided the national championship, and the writers voted on it. We had all kinds of arguments all winter. I was a big advocate for this playoff system, and I still am. But there are days I want to go back to that chaotic time because I got to argue about it all winter. This show would be a whole lot more fun in the offseason if we were still arguing that Ohio State shouldn't be the national championship because they lost to Oregon. And, they won the national championship and Oregon finished second. However, those circumstances played out when Oregon would have been in a different conference. I miss those days. This show would be a whole lot better then, wouldn't it? Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. I got to say goodbye to the Roku people. I was supposed to do this 21 minutes ago. Robert, I apologize, buddy. So let me say goodbye to the Roku people. Bye-bye. Anyway, we're here with the rest of you guys. Where were we? India and Pakistan will end humanity soon, so the new college football won't matter. That might be the most accurate thing that's been commented on this show ever. Ed, you're old enough to remember my favorite comedian, George Carlin, and so are you, AC. I see your comment, AC, and I hate to jump all over you, but I'm gonna when it comes up, because that is not a rivalry on the level of anyone I just mentioned. But I'll get to it anyway. Tad's point. It is a scary situation over there, but the only way I can deal with scary situations is to laugh and poke fun at them. George Carlin talked about this is way back in the 80s, probably. When when Pakistan and India were both becoming nuclear powers, right? They had nuclear weapons. I think India got them first, and Pakistan did. And he talked about this whole thing, and he goes, "It's not a good thing." He goes, first of all, ancient hatreds, modern warfare, believe in reincarnation, really, really bad combination. So Ed might be right. Well, I'm sitting here, I'm wasting my time doing this show because Pakistan and India is going to blow everything up. And I'm going to see Charlton Heston looking at the Statue of Liberty. Maybe that'll be me. Maybe that'll be me in the real Planet of the Apes going, you blew it up. You maniacs. I can do the whole scene if you want. I want to bring back the Pac-10 and the Rose Bowl ties. They won't be able to, though, because that Pac-10 is not going to be the Pac-10 that we knew. Pac-8, Pac-12. I'm old enough for the Pac-8, by the way. I miss the Nebraska and the Orange Bowl or Oklahoma, right? I'm a traditionalist, but only time goes forward and big money talks. Well, you're right on the money, Ed. And again, I'm trying to get my head around it. As I said, I'm still okay. I'm okay with the change. I still feel the excitement. But my fear is it's going to wane. And not just because I'll be old and unable to get excited. AC, please. You're kidding. All right. I'm just throwing that out for fun. Good. Because if you were serious, I was going to have to ban you for 2 weeks from the shows. No, I wouldn't do it. I'm not going to ban anybody. Anyway. It's been a good show. I see we got a couple more comments. I'll get to your comments here. Hang on 1 second. Now I see the Empire Sports Network on, so I'm not sure maybe that's that's a commercial. So it's Robert, I apologize. I went long and I shouldn't. And we're going to get in big trouble with the network. Oh, well. George Carlin would be going nuts, right? He'd be going nuts right now. With the world in general, he'd be going nuts. AC, keep those posts. And I don't get into my politics here a lot, but I do throw them out here now and again. I try not to beat people over the head with it. If you watch my shows enough, you know where my stance is. I am not a Trumpster, but I am a conservative Republican who would vote for a moderate Democrat if he was better than what the Republicans put up there. But that has not happened in the last 30 years. So, yeah, he would have a great time. I don't know why I said that. Oh, AC, because AC's had some great posts. And again, this is not we don't get into debating. I just throw out little trinkets. You've had some really good stuff lately, was my point. But the Democrats would cancel George Carlin nowadays. Maybe. There's some guys that get away with. There's still some guys who get away with some stuff. I don't know. I'm not so sure. The problem is, the spotlight that she's leaving herself in now. She won't be around. Well, it's only 4 years, so it's possible she'll be around. Midterm elections, we tend to have changes, and she may not even be around for 2 years. And if you fall off the face of the earth and out of the mainstream, then it's hard to come back. But I mean, Nikki'd be my girl if I could get her. But where's she going to be for the next 4 years? We won't even know. Nobody even know who she is in 4 years. She didn't run her race right, and I think the president not debating really, it certainly helped him, and I understand why he didn't. But I think somebody like Nikki would have had a much better chance if he had. But that's just me. We got away from college football there at the end, so that's enough of that. I gave you some great leeway there, AC. Probably chased that away. Don't take offense. I have a lot of very good Democrats. I have never once unfriended somebody because of their political stances. Pretty sure I've been unfriended, but I can't help that. That's their problem. But in any event, we had a pretty good show tonight for a lot of not going on. I appreciate AC and Ed for coming on and bailing me out. Thanks for popping in and saying hi, Matt Brust, a former St. John's standout back in the day, with our boy Louis Carnesecca, former. We had Matt on the one-on-one interview show probably 4 years ago or so. So we're glad Matt came on tonight, and we hope to get Matt in to say hi and talk about some college basketball when we come up. I make podcasting great again. Thank you, Ed. I don't know about that. I just come out here and have fun, man. And whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth. You guys always help me. I mean, it would have been a long show for me tonight if I had to do it all by myself. And if you guys pop in and I'm in the middle of going through, quarterback situations in power conferences, feel free to speak up and put comments up, because I'd much rather interact with people than just go on. And I do appreciate the kind thoughts, believe me. I like your posts, buddy. I think I don't know. I may not comment all the time, but I like or love them. And, I keep a low profile on social media when it comes to those things, but I'm happy to support people that want to speak. I just don't do it because it's not my style, right? Plus, it gets tough within the family sometimes, because there's me and my mother-in-law, and everybody else it's over there. But anyway, thank you, Ed. Thank you, AC. You guys have been a lot of fun. We'll be back Friday with the MLB update. We will not have a one-on-one show this week, and I will not be on the Mac and Jack, and we miss our good friend Mac McGrath. Again, our best wishes and thoughts and prayers are with his wife Linda. Mac McGrath from National Streaming Sports, the founder and host of many shows that I've guested on 2 or 3 times a week for the last 5 years. Passed away last week, and we miss Mac. And so I won't be. Well, we're going to try to carry on this tradition as best we can on National Streaming Sports. I will not be on with Sonia and Jack on the Mac and Jack show Friday, because I've got to be at Spring Tea with my 2.5-year-old granddaughter. I am her special guest, so that's trumps everything else. So I have a lot of fun doing it, and I will keep being me. I promise you that. That's all I can promise, is you'll always get me. It's a good thing and a bad thing all at the same time. You guys, I've appreciated it. Ed, AC, the rest of you who didn't speak up, I know you're out there because I can see you. Have a great... The music stopped. There it goes. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you Friday with the MLB update, and Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. See you later. Keith Engle, TGI Sports Talks College Football Huddle. Bye-bye.